I'd like to call to order this meeting of the Oconee County Planning Commission, 6 p.m. Monday, December the 17th. Our first order of business is invocation. Our attorney's not here, so we'll have Ms. Gwen.
Yes, sir. Pray with me if you can, if you would. Our Heavenly Father, as we approach the holiday season, let us always remember the reason for the season, whatever religion it is. It's celebratory, but we need to be thoughtful of others, mindful of kindness, and seeking the best guidance that we can here for this county. Help us to do our job and to not seek self-interests, but to move forward in protecting the county for all citizens. Thank you. Help us lead, guide, and direct us in everything that we do from here on. Amen.
Amen. All right. Stand.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. All right, y'all have before you the minutes of our last meeting, December the 3rd. Do I hear a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that be approved as amended. I had a couple of grammatical that Mr. Chapman already has.
Do I have a motion? Do I need a second?
Second.
Any other corrections or problems? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we don't have any public comment on non-agenda items, so we'll go right into the staff update.
Certainly. So I had an opportunity to go to Seneca High last week along with Mr. Pearson to speak with and hear from a group, the Student Advisory Board. It's a group of the student governments of Oconee County high schoolers, and they're amazing. Like I feel super satisfied with the education and our future, because those, I hate to call them kids, but I suppose they are really well spoken, and they may come and address the Planning Commission and Council at a later date. But so I think our future is looking okay.
All right, so let's move into item number 7. Planning Commission, January 9th, 2019 meeting date. We need a concrete date for the first meeting, and then we'll get into the rest of the year in January. So our first meeting normally would be on the 7th of January, which is the first Monday. Does anyone have any objections to that date?
January 7th.
Yeah, the 7th.
That's NCAA.
No, it's not a holiday. We can
live
forego
stream it on the
basketball.
TV, sir.
Well, we'll have Adam put it on the big screen. Well, I need a motion for that date or any other date that y'all see fit.
So moved for the 7th.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of January 7th being our first meeting for 2019, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, so there you go, Adam, that first one. Now, we have public comment on the Planning Commission's comprehensive plan, or not the Planning Commission, but the comprehensive plan. So, Mr. Markovich, if you'd like to be first.
Thank you. Good evening. For the record, my name is Tom Markovich. I just wanted to, I took a quick glance at the population element and the talking points at the very beginning of it. And I thought it was rather interesting in the sense that when we talk about population trends, the highlights, we talk about population size, the 18th largest county in South Carolina, 16th highest growth rate, and over 40 years an 82.4% growth rate. However, it's clear from the numbers that the growth rate for Oconee County is in deceleration. It is decreasing. As a business person, and I would be curious to understand why that is going about. Why are we in deceleration? And why aren't we noticing that? Why isn't that mentioned in the trends? That is a trend. We are decelerating in population. So, anyway, just something to think about.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Margaret. Mr. Edwards?
Good evening. I'm Jerry Edwards, and first of all, Merry Christmas to
Thank
all
you,
of you
sir.
there, because we're probably there. I don't normally speak at these things, but I wanted to just bring something up. I'm the owner of the Daily Journal, for those of you who don't know that. And I've heard Frankie's mentioned to me, and a lot of people have, you guys are dealing with a comprehensive plan, which is going to last us for 10 years. It's probably the most important piece of document that this entire county is going to do, because it's supposed to be the blueprint for where we go. And I continue to hear, not only from my own staff, but from people out there, that nobody comes to your meetings, nobody shows up, nobody participates. Is that something you guys are hearing yourself on that end? Okay, I'm seeing you're nodding your head. Yeah. Well, what I'd ask you folks is, if you'd work with us and let me do my job, I think I can help you at least get the input back that you guys need to do. It's an amazing document. I've actually looked through all the volumes when I was on economic development. I've seen the others. It's supposed to be what we, and the council, the new council coming in, how they govern us going forward. And they need to have the people's input in this. So you're spending a lot of money on having a firm come in and do this, but it never ever gets the people's input into it like it should, because you're trying to get them to come out and sit out of their houses during Christmas time and stuff and join you in your meetings, and you're not finding them. You got to go to them, and that I think I can help you with if you're interested. Other than that, thank you.
Thanks, sir. Okay, got this open on the table for discussion. Want to go through the goals sections and see if that's exactly what we want in there.
Before Mr. Edwards leaves, we do need to get this information out to people. And yes, I appreciate you saying that you all are willing to help. Have you talked to Adam by chance on what cooperation you could provide? I don't want to get into trouble with this current chairman of the council right now, so I figured I'd talk to him first of the year. We would love to see how we could work together to make sure that the community at large is aware of what's going on, because it is vitally important that everybody participate in this. You're working too hard on this thing.
Could you step over to Mike where it can be on record, sir?
Sure.
Appreciate it.
Sorry. It is very important. It's the most important thing you guys are doing up here is the planning for where we're going for the next 10 years. So I'd love to talk to Adam if that's where it goes. And I was being a little facetious there, but right now we're waiting for a change in the council. You guys realize that, same as we do. So, but yeah, I mean, we are the newspaper of record. We reach 30,000 eyeballs every single day. Trust me, I can get across your points and ask. We have to break it up into manageable blocks, and we can do that. It takes some time, it takes some effort if you're willing to do that, but you can get a heck of a lot more input in. And then they can use it as a true document and say, this is the people's document, which we've never been able to say in the whole 30 years I've lived here. We have asked at the last meeting for Adam to approach the media to start getting some information out, and I'd love to ask for that again to make sure that there is a meeting of the.
Certainly.
And if I can, I just have a question. I know that you do like text reminders.
Yes, we
About
actually have a texting
Right.
platform. We
Yes.
have all the technology. If you can get it in a big paper, you can get it with us too.
Well,
So,
that's one of the most effective advertising things I've ever seen. I can vouch for that. I wondered if you can maybe share with Mr. Chapman about like how you could reach the different areas of the county, maybe regarding each of the community meetings, using that. I mean, I don't know, I don't understand, how it works. That's
yeah, Ms. McPhail, the
why
problem
you
I've
do
got
what
is
you do.
the meetings, I can reach them, but they're not going to come. They don't come to these meetings. they want to deal with you all on their terms. And the terms is they want to, this is a huge document. It has 17 different sections, I believe, total, basic sections in that. And you need to take those and break them down into bite-sized things. It's an elephant. You need to feed it one bite at a time and get their input into it. And
Oh, no, no,
certainly-
I'm talking about reaching those people to remind them of when the meeting was.
Yes. And
That's what
we
I saw
can.
was so effective, was people would talk about doing something, but then that last-minute reminder, they would go, oh, I got up this morning, got this little note, and I decided to come today.
Right.
And it's very effective.
We can, but it's more important to also have them informed with what you want to deal with at that time, because they may come in on this subject and you guys are already on this subject. So that's the other part that we want to do, is keep them staying. They're not paying attention to everything you're all doing, so it's important to them to, I mean, they'll all talk about it right at the very end, when they say, you never bothered to ask me. And that's what I would love to see you guys not have, because, like I said, the council going forward needs a document that they can pick up and say, this is the roadmap for us. This is what you, the people of this county, said you wanted to do, and you can't say you weren't involved, because we had, 15, 20,000 people in this county that got involved. And we can track that. So that stops some of this, I call it going off on a tangent, in the wrong direction. But we'd love to help you. And Adam, yes, after the first of the year, holler. I met him the other day for the first time, so we'll sit down and see how we can come out and see what will work for you guys on that side. But it'll take some time. Okay, that's all I got to ask is, I don't know what your time schedule is on this.
Quick.
I think we gotta have something by November of 2019.
We're supposed to have it
Have it
codified by
completed, yeah.
November, but.
Oh,
So this is a several-month process
That's
going
fine.
through this, so
then I'm at the right time. to
you're
come
at the
in.
right time.
Okay, I can do that then.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Take care.
All right, everyone, I hope, has had a chance to look over the population element here. And we do have the goals toward the back of the document. And if I'm understanding right, we need, in those yellow squares, we need sort of a time frame. Is that what you were wanting on these?
So if we're looking at the goals section, so in kind of big red letters there, I just put out to every email I've sent for the last week, is that these are goals that have been put in there as jumping off points, as stepping points that we can talk about, we can look at, we can edit, discard, or otherwise. This is really the important part of the entire, of the 30-odd pages. The last two are the important parts. Everything else is the backup material for those 2 pages. So filling in the timeframes, yes, that's of course. The first thing I believe that you all may want to establish is if those in fact are the goals that the people want. And this is a first draft. We can look at it. You can look at this as you want to alter the backup material, you want to alter the goals, you just want to kick it around for a little while. You can choose to vote on it. You don't have to vote on it. This can sit around for a while. So how you all want to approach this. I think adding timeframes are certainly important. I don't know that has to be done at this moment, though.
Just a couple things regarding the document. I read through it in its entirety, I think. And one of the things that initially struck me is remembering that Mr. Kisker and several others have said the document last time was just so big that it got dusty and nobody did anything about it because it was so cumbersome to read and to use. Yes, the important attributes of it are the goals and strategies and action steps to get there. But a lot of people need to understand why those are there, and the meat that's contained in the document itself, in my opinion, is still getting lost in some of the stuff. It does appear that our consultants have done a good job at taking some templates and plugging in some numbers, but I think some of the information in here is still a bit cumbersome. Specifically, I went from the end of page 2.2 to 2.3, the end of that first paragraph, it completely changes topic on that next paragraph, and it really needs to continue talking about what it was talking about. For example, 2.2 to 2.3 goes through and gives this description of what's coming up and how you came about getting those numbers, but it leaves off at 2010. And then it jumps into all of these other details, but doesn't tell you how you get from, is our most current data 2010? In fact, it's not. We had a 2012 through 2016. And yet there needs to be a paragraph that says, hey, here's where we were, here's where we got there. We've got data up through 2016 per this, but it goes into all these, it stops at 2010 and then talks about how Coney's ranked 18th. My point is that second paragraph on 2.3 is part of that jumble that we still lose track of, hey, but we have more data up through 2010. Looking at 2.4, reading through those numbers, it was great that those population elements were there. It was very weird that Walhalla showed 0 change. It's also very weird that Salem showed only a growth of 14 when you have the cliffs and the reserve in that Salem area. So I don't know if our population element, if we need to include postal or water districts charts in there as well. It does start breaking it down when we get to the census tracking per area of the county, whether you're in 3.6 or 307 or 302 or whatever. But it was just odd to see that Walhalla had 0 change in population. Salem had a total of 14 members change in population, and yet you see all of this growth going on up in that area when you look at some of these big communities up there. Now, many of those communities aren't being noted in population because they're not full-time residents. And I'm not sure if tax basis is going to be covered somewhere else or actual growth of development is going to be considered somewhere else. But these statistics seem somewhat skewed. And so we had all of this elephant, for lack of a better word, that we're trying to digest. And we're not telling the real story or the whole story, I don't think. And maybe it doesn't need to be under population. Maybe it needs to be under somewhere else. But it just, some weird things like that. Some other things that I thought were interesting on 2.5, midway down, I would have thought as many new home construction as are going on up on north of Seneca. I was shocked to find that the highest rate of increase was actually on the south of the county as far as growth. That to me was a huge statistic that's just kind of lost in the middle of a bunch of words. Does that make sense? A bunch of words. In looking through here, truly, it says this track includes the northern area of Seneca and the portions around Lake Kiowee. However, the highest rate of increase was 30.7% in persons in track 307, which is located southeast of Seneca on Hartwell and borders Anderson and Pickens County. And I was shocked that's a huge information that we need to know, that council needs to know, and it's lost in a jillion words in 2 important sentences. So I'd like us to ask them to go back.
Yeah, they need to do some
and,
editing.
and edit a little bit. It's great that they can give us a bunch of numbers, but I think that there's some important information that needs to stand out. I put in here several times that I don't know if we also need to do this by postal code, if we need to put a chart in there by water district. It surprises me that I personally am on Knox Road and I'm in the Walhalla Municipality Water District. I'm not in the city of Walhalla, but I'm now a Walhalla resident, at least with regard to water. So that's why I wonder about how does this population look different when we talk about certain districts? Or how does the population look different? I mean, county council had a big deal about Salem Water on whether they were trying to support the Salem Water area or not. Right here, it says that Salem, growth-wise, wouldn't necessarily support that. But if you looked at the greater area, maybe by water district, maybe it would. So again, I don't know if those things are being covered in some other element. If they're not, I think those graphs need to be identified in here as well.
So I'm just trying to, so the reason why the 2010 was used, because it's the most comprehensive data set, and then we'll update this in 2021, because that's when the 2020 census come out. As far as using postal code, I don't know that, I'm sure the water district, I'll look into it, I'll see what information's available. I know the census doesn't delve into that, but maybe the individual, maybe there's some kind of data we can pull from Walla and the Joint Regional Sewer Authority as far as water and sewer for kind of houses served or things of that nature.
I just think, and again, maybe I'm completely off on this, but I couldn't find anywhere else in the comprehensive plan that it would go. But I would think that we would need information that says these second home residents, which one, it does say very well here that this is a big retirement area. A lot of retirement area, sometimes that means second home as well. We know that around the lake is a huge second home market, which for us is actually a huge tax benefit because of the way that second home residences are taxed. What does that mean with regard to population? I think is important for county council and for this board to know. I think it's also important to know so it doesn't necessarily show a population growth if it's a second home resident. At the same time, we looked at median income here, which was kind of important. I don't know that retirees show up under median income, but I also think that farms and things like that may or may not show higher on that income scale than they would, say, on the tax base scale. So if we're just looking at one element and going, well, hey, we're getting a lot more tax revenue in this part of the county than in this part of the county. But from a revenue standpoint, maybe this other part of the county is more important. And I don't know that this population element is breaking things down that way. I think it says 4 people moved in and 2 people died. So that was just my take from it.
I just had one question. I thought it was interesting, because we're all the time hearing that we're a retirement community and all of the young people are leaving. But to me, at 21.7%, ages between 25 and 44, is not nearly as low as it doesn't sound like everybody's leaving. Because that's only 7% lower than the 45 to 64-year-olds. So I just wondered, has that changed? Can you look back and see if we are doing a better job of retaining our young people or attracting young people by chance? Like, say, from 10 years ago or 15 years ago? That's just my own curiosity. It's the third page somewhere in there. It's on the page, population by age group 2016. You got a great big chart. No, I'm on the simple pages. I hadn't.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we can certainly look back at a longer time frame.
Because, the other interesting thing is those 45 to 64 years are also, that's not, to me, that used to be considered getting up into the senior citizen, more needy, but now that I'm close enough, I don't think it's quite as close to senior citizens as it used to be. So, there may be folks in that group that are looking for jobs, et cetera, and we would see them totally differently than we would see from a population where we're worried about how close are they to assisted living or whatever.
I wrote notes all over this thing. If I could speak one more time, there on page 2.7, it looks like there was a good job in doing a little bit of research as far as where we have been highlighted. I do think a few places are missing. I've seen several magazines where we were rated highly as a place to retire or highly as a bedroom communities of the Southeast or whatever it might be, I'd like our consultants to try to hit some more of those things, because I think that that tells a story that we are being promoted, and we need to be aware of that promotion. So while the numbers may not reflect population, again, because some of them are second home homeowners, we are being, on a national scale, noticed. And so I'd like to ask them to pull out a few more places that we may be showing up.
Yeah, I think the existing population element is 26 pages. We've jumped to 32, so we're going in the wrong direction, in my opinion. And I think there's a lot of maps in here that are duplicates. To me, anytime you got a page where it's just all words, that's a turnoff. And then we have a lot of paragraphs explaining the chart. And it just seems, before they came out with a new version of the Bible, 306.01 and 306.02 and 309, 309, at the top of page 2.5, each split into 2 tracks, map 2.2. So, it reads like a Latin translation of something or other. I don't know. Good start, just needs to be condensed. And do we need, it just seems like some of these charts are repetitive. And again, I haven't read it like Mike. I didn't get mine in the mail till Saturday. And I went outside and played in the sun on Sunday. So, and I worked today. So without, digesting what all these charts are, it just seems like there's a heck of a lot of them. I think we talked about the maps. There's some duplicate maps. And I think we can get to the goals and strategies with a lot less, it just, the way some of this reads is just so, your head's spinning. My head spins when I, one paragraph has so much, information in it, you lose track of what you're reading. At least I do.
Andy?
I'm kind of with Mr. Kistner on this. It's a little bit more document than I think we need. I read through it. I didn't take notes, but it seemed like there was a lot of replication. Just put a little bit different spin on the same data and show it again. But who's going to use this data and for what?
He was asking who's gonna use this data?
Well, ostensibly, you all and council will as backup information for decision-making processes.
And I'm just gonna be mean here for a second, just because the English teacher came out again. For example, in wording, I'm like you, the words are just like overwhelming, but, and I appreciate ACOG, and I know they do a lot for the county, but for example, let's look under the Chapter 2, population element, that first page. I don't know what page, 2.1, I guess. Just, this was the first quick one I could find. Oconee County is part of the 6-County Appalachian Council of Governments region that also blah, 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 authorized in. You could take out that whole paragraph, and I don't think it would hurt us one bit to not have that paragraph in there that has nothing to do with our goal as our guiding light for where we're going for this. It's nice, and I'm sure it's a warm fuzzy for the ACOG, but it just doesn't need to be in our comprehensive plan to be. Thank you.
And that's kind of what I was getting
To
at with
me,
some of
if
these
they
other
could just go
paragraphs,
through
too.
this thing and go, okay, that's a nice warm fuzzy, but it really doesn't do any good. They could take a bunch of those out, I think.
I think that we appreciate what they're doing and that we appreciate the detail of which they've gone. And a business who's interested in relocating here will read through all those details. However, I'd like it to read more of an advertisement so that everyone who picks it up understands what's going on quickly. Whether we're moving up or whether we're moving down or whether we're moving sideways or whatever it might be. Since I've got the floor, I didn't mean to
Yeah,
talk
go
all
ahead.
evening, but as far as the goals, objectives, and strategies, on these, is this what they have come up with, or is this what staff here has come up with thus far, as far as these strategy elements?
So those come from a limited amount of the public input, but mostly those were pulled as talking points, as areas for you all to say, okay, well, we want to have X. Well, do we? Nah, that's not really something we want, but maybe we do want Z, and kind of work from there. So it's hard. If I were just to give you a blank piece of paper and say, okay, come with some goals, I think it would be a longer conversation. So these are talking points.
So, and maybe I'm completely coming at this backwards. Looking at some of these sound great. I've never been a fan when doing business plans, and I used to do them for a living, on something that said ongoing. To me, ongoing was meaning never getting started. I think that we need to come up with things that actually have true deadlines to them, even if it's an 8-year deadline, rather than everything being an ongoing. Again, if it's ongoing, never get started. The way I would think that we would approach this is over the next, we've been doing it, but over the next month or so, next 2 months, that we try to collect as many of those data pieces as we've been asking for. And I've seen many of those data pieces. Ooh, I like this about the county. I don't like this about the county. I'd love to see this change about the county. I'd love to take all that data and either staff or us or somebody to say, this person said they liked this. That statement goes in what of the 9 elements? It goes over there in that element. Okay, they don't like this. What element does that go in? And so that we can then come up with what the residents of the county have said, these are the things that are important to them in these different elements that we're dealing with. Then from there, take those things and come up with strategies based on what they have said, rather than a generic, this is county XYZ across the United States. This is what they've said was a good thing. I'd rather take what our county residents have said, place them into the categories, and then we disseminate what kind of strategies or objectives we work based on the consensus that we're getting over in this area or the consensus that we're getting under this element. So as far as goals, I don't think we can do that until February or March. If that,
I'm working towards that right now, all the inputs we've got from the students and everything else. I'm working to try to figure those out. I've cut up a whole bunch.
but does that make sense to take each one of whatever somebody said, that sentence, what category does that sentence go in? Or what element does that sentence go in? And we put those in those 9 fish bowls, and then we pull those out and we look down them and go, what are the positives, what are the negatives, and how do we help the negatives become positives, and how do we enhance the positives even more as our strategies and objectives? Would that be what you would?
It makes
Does that
sense.
make sense?
Yeah.
Because we got a lot of good responses from this student advisory committee. I mean, things like they want to see in the next 10 years more things for the younger folks to do other than hike up the mountain. Or, I mean, a lot of people are getting tired of that live here. They don't all of us want to go hiking. I had one very excited young man wanted a water park. We'll not call his name. But they want to see other things that'll keep our young people in this area rather than getting out of high school and leaving and moving to Greenville or moving to other states where they have things for them to do. Oconee County has nothing. I mean, we don't have a whole lot to do unless you go hiking or you do water sports. I mean, what else are there in the county, you know, for the young people to do? We don't have bowling alleys anymore. Well, we got one. We don't have movie theaters. They don't like for you to cut town. So we've got to, in the next 10 years, come up with something that our younger people will enjoy. And even our older population, because once you get a certain age, the hiking thing is not a choice anymore because the legs ain't working like they used to, and the back's out or something, and we need things for people to do. We don't have anything here for people to do. They have to go to Anderson County or Greenville County or Pickens County for things to do. We don't have anything, well, we don't have a lot of things for the residents of Oconee County to do. So, as far as the goals, that should be a goal. So, but I like your idea of getting what the people say and figuring out, going from there and
Well,
not using generic stuff.
putting their statements into the right elements and then cross-referencing that with the data that we're getting to determine what that goal could be.
And maybe just one last question for the company. Would it be possible for them to, there's a lot of times when they make a statement about something such as our county is aging faster than all the other counties in South Carolina. And then they give like a paragraph and a half of saying how they figured that out. You know, this group's 8. Is it possible for them to produce a Cliff Notes for the comprehensive plan that would be publicly available? And then if you wanted to, as a business or as someone who is an industry who's looking at it, and you wanted to delve into the details, your office would then have the enriched version of the. I mean, is that possible? Because I'll be honest. As a citizen of the county, there's no way I would pick this up and look at it. And I don't care how many ads we run. I don't think anybody is going to want to come up here and look at this and sit through a meeting discussing it. You know, that. But there are, like you said, there's a lot of very good information in here that people need to consider. So just, I know we don't want to have to pay them for 2 copies, but.
So when we made the edits, actually earlier this year, to the comprehensive plan, I think I made edits on like 200 pages or so, give or take. Not entire pages, piecemeal. So what I did was I just made a Cliff's Notes version of that to condense it down to like a dozen pages or 15 pages. So certainly we can work on one of those purple, I don't know what I just did, one of the purple books you have basically for the comprehensive plan. Certainly we can make that happen.
Okay, and I would be willing to help do that.
Yes, ma'am.
The only other thing, go ahead. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
The only other thing I saw in here, 2-4, middle of the page, is we've spent 4 pages talking about up through 2010. Then we did finally get to the 2016, which came out of the 2012 through 2016 ACS study. But then down here it talks about migration, and it says that we had an increase in 2015 to 16. But there's no chart. Apparently we have data, 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013. We have data, annual data, that nowhere is there a chart that talks about it. All of our charts actually go up through 2010, and then a couple of the charts jump to 2016. But it seems like there's some data there that might be beneficial from a 5-year back, if they have it, because it says there was an increase from 2015 to 2016. So that's all, and I'll be quiet.
Yeah, and again, none of this is a criticism, but it's just,
Yeah, it's not a
goal 2.2, promote a livable community in which county residents are healthy, supported, and productive. Nice goal. Strategy 2.2, 1.2. Promote access to adequate healthcare facilities and services for all segments of the population to reduce the incidence and high costs associated with chronic health conditions. How do, they can't figure that out at the federal level. How are we supposed to figure that out at the local level? And why is that in the population element, and why is that, I don't know, you know, so, I mean, if you really break down, encourage county health care providers to establish the medical services and expertise needed by local residents, especially geriatric care for the elderly, and, you know, and I guess my question is like, how does county government, you know, how does county government encourage, or, you know, what, is this the right place for that? Does it need to be in here? I mean, yeah, that's a great goal. It's a great objective, but can we do anything about that? You know, promote access to, I mean, to adequate health care and, you know, reduce the incidence of high cost. I don't think we can do anything that, I don't think the county can do anything about that. So that's why, you know, when we start breaking these things down and really reading the meat of them, which I'm just doing for the first time, honestly, you know, is this something that we're just filling a paper, or just something that we can really handle or do? I don't think we can control healthcare from the county standpoint, you know. That's just one example. I don't know.
To Brad's point, I think that's where this looks like it's an anywhere in the U.S. kind of document versus a document for Oconee County. And I think that's where all of those things that we've been getting people to write down can potentially either supplement or replace some of this Anywhere USA type data.
Yeah, I mean,
Definitely not criticism. No, this is very much a thank you for starting this conversation.
yeah, encourage young adults and families to remain in County. Great goal. You know, continue to create economic opportunities for residents, potentially. That's something the county can do. They can offer tax credits to businesses, offer, you know, FILOs, you know, they can attract business, you know, economic, you know, we can have influence on the economic alliance and that kind of stuff. So I think there's, yeah, we can encourage, you know, young adults to stay, but they gotta have a good paying job. How do they get good paying jobs? By bringing in industry. But I still think there's a split on county council, whether we want to keep the county the same or we're gonna grow the county. And I asked that question 2 years ago. Are we growing the county or are we gonna keep it the same? Nobody answered that question. So until we get that question answered, what we do up here doesn't mean anything, to me.
Is that sort of like rustic elegance?
Rustic elegance.
Well, that's a great thing. So I have these, like, the kind of the larger meta questions that I've asked a lot of people with the handouts. I've given you the same kind of the 4 questions. That's a great one of those questions to ask. I mean, I'll go ahead and incorporate that question to the, you know, when we ask people and see what happens. That's a great question.
I mean, I still think that's one of the best questions that's never been answered. You know, do we want this county to grow? Do we want businesses to relocate here? Do we want the higher paying jobs? Or do we want to remain retirees, farmers, builders, real estate, and a few manufacturing companies?
We want as many farmers as we can get. Because I like to eat.
But I still don't think we've answered the primary question of,
And
are we,
I'm with you. It hadn't been answered in at least 8 years that I know of, right off the bat. It hadn't been answered. So that may be a good one to put on that.
but I think we really, you know, goals, objectives, strategies, you know, that's where I guess the meat is. And we really need to put things on there we can control. We can't control healthcare. You know, can we encourage, you know, what used to be a Coney Memorial or is now Green, I don't even know what the name of it is now. They keep changing the name of it every 3 months. But, you know, is that something we can have an impact on? Very little, I think, in my mind, you know. Either the hospital's gonna make money or it's not. And I don't know, so it's just, again, you know, all these charts and all this fluff is great, but, you know, we probably need to be focusing on the goals and strategies, and are the goals and strategies really within our control? And if they're not, they don't need to be in here, in my mind. That's my opinion.
Adam, is it possible for you to take the data that we've obtained so far from the public outreach and do a graph that says that this bar shows how many people have said they like the beauty of the area or they want to enhance the beauty of the area, and this graph shows that 6 people said that they want more recreation on the south end of the county, and 4 people said they need better access to health care, and 19 people said that they need, so that we can see the 20 items that people have thus far said were important to them and how important based on that graph. Then we can determine by the first of the year, what elements are we missing and what questions are we not asking that we need to start asking, so that by January, February, we can start getting a handle on what are we not seeing that we thought was important. What are we seeing that we didn't realize was important? So that we can make sure we're by March or April, we've asked all the questions that we can start tightening that target to then put it into this element. And saying, how does this data, how do these goals match the community's interests? Is that possible?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion that we ask staff to do that.
Okay. Do I get a second?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. So this is something we're gonna bring back up at the next meeting, correct, Mr. Adam?
That would,
This information, we can bring you'll bring us back the information that they're asking for at our next meeting, possibly.
yes, I believe.
And it'll be added to, continually be added to.
You know,
Right.
well, nothing's written in stone. We can change it at any time. We can always go back to the population section at any given moment.
Certainly, especially when you tie that in with, so the next element we'll look at is the housing element, which I think will address some of the gaps in the data that you're seeing here. I think you'll definitely see, I'm hoping you'll see what you're looking for in about some of the locations in the housing element, which hopefully I may have by the next meeting. But yes, we can have this for the next meeting, certainly.
Well, I'd like to make a request. While we're doing the comprehensive plan and you're gonna be sending this type of information out to us, instead of us getting it on a Wednesday or a Thursday before the meeting, can we not get it a little earlier than that? Can you maybe get this stuff and get it to us maybe on the Monday before our meeting, where we'll have a week to look through it, a good 5 days, or 7 days to look through it, instead of just having Wednesday to Monday?
So for me to get to you by, so if you, let's say the next meeting was in 2 weeks. So I'd have to mail it by Wednesday, which is basically I'd have one
Well, if
working
you
day.
mail it out on Monday, a lot of would get it. You can email it out on that Monday and then mail it.
I try to email stuff out as soon as I have it all put together. Putting the stuff together, it usually takes me till Wednesday. If I have it beforehand, I will definitely get it to you beforehand.
I mean, get it to us as early as possible, because some of the members work, they don't have time to sit down a lot of times. Me, I don't, so I can get it Friday and still read through it, but
Gotcha.
we just need a little more time to look through all this information, especially when you're having 32 pages to read over front and back. You need a little more time to look through it and still do what needs to be done.
4 days to get the mail. Sorry. I was just thinking Ms. Kister didn't get it till Thursday. It took,
Yeah.
4 days to get that.
Well, this time of year, till about
I didn't get
middle of
the mail till
February,
Saturday.
about the middle of February, it'll be like that. I may not get it. Of course, it could get lost in the mail too.
We've been in, I mean, I just counted 28 charts and 6 maps. And I think all the maps were pretty much duplicates. And again, I'm not trying to, you know, we gotta start somewhere. I think this is a good start, but I think it's a good start to go back to our consultants and say, hey, good start, but we gotta make this thing user-friendly. And this is not, you know, we're adding pages already. This is not user-friendly. Let's cut down, you know, cut out the fluff. You know, we're not paying you by the page, or maybe we give an incentive. Every page you cut, you know, whatever. We can't procure any more funds, I'm sure, but, no, I mean, it's just, and I think if we make it, you know, 10 or 12 pages of readable material, then we get to the goals and objectives, then I think people will pick it up. But when you got 30 pages of 28 charts and 6 maps and paragraphs that go on with just numbers and numbers and numbers and numbers, you know, whatever. But that's, I'm repeating myself. I mean, this, I say we adopt this, and, I mean, there's some good information in that,
There is.
and it's easy to read. So, whoever did this did a great job.
That was done through economic.
It's pictures. Easy to read. So, no, like I said, I think we need to, I think if we keep beating on the consultants that this is the direction we want to go, they're working for us, then they'll head that way.
Certainly.
Okay.
I'd like to speak a word in Adam's defense now. You're talking about how long it takes to read what he sends us, but it takes him a while to put it together. Every hour you spend, he's probably spending 5 or 10.
Totally agree.
Now his head's already getting bigger.
Just my hair, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, if there's nothing further on this tonight, do I hear any old business? We have any new business? Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Merry Christmas.
Same to y'all.